What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio and the DFS Picks and Prediction Show. Be sure to tune in every now Wednesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, where me, Weezy, and MMA Monk break down this upcoming card from a DFS perspective and give our predictions on the fights as well. As always, we're going to be going through each panel member and talking our fight to target, fight to fade, fighter to fade, favorite dog, favorite GPP play, favorite cash play, favorite value play, favorite dart throw. Go through our lineups, answer any question you guys have, talk quick picks, and then head out of here. So yeah, it should be a very fun year. We're adding something kind of new to the show. You know how we did the contest last year. We're actually going to keep track of all the Draftkings points week after week, add them up, and have kind of like a standings each week. So that should be fun. But I'm here with Weezy, Luke, and Monk. We'll start with the new guy, Monk. What is up? Awesome to have you this year. How was your break, and are you looking forward to the show?
First of all, thanks so much for having me. It's a great group of guys to be in here talking shop with. Break was good. I got a lot done in the first about week or so, and then not much after that, which is probably good because the research for this card just got quite a bit more dicey as of today. But we'll get into that. Like I said, I'm super excited for this show. Really appreciate you guys having me on, and I can't wait to get started.
Yeah, that's what sucks about being a content creator, right? Like I remember researching like 15 fights for this card a couple of weeks ago, and now we're down to 9, around there, 9, 10, maybe less by the time the fight starts. So that sucks, but we'll make the best of it. Weezy, what is up? How was your break? Are you looking forward to this card?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to what's left of this card. The break was good. I had a birthday on New Year's Day, and obviously the holidays. Other than that, really good times. Missed MMA, missed all of you guys, missed talking fights. Really glad to be back this week. I've been active on my channel too. I'm just fired up. Even if we only got 6 fights that are left on Saturday, I'm going to be watching. So yeah, can't wait to get into it with you guys.
Yeah, it's only Wednesday, so we'll see what happens there. And then last but not least, we have Luke. Luke, what is up? How was your break? Are you looking forward to this banger of a card?
Yeah, it was definitely much needed for me. As you guys all know, this game is just a grind, week in and week out. So I know a lot of people were like, I don't know what to do without fights. I'm like, thank God I get a couple weeks without fights. It's nice to be able to recharge the batteries, kind of avoid burnout. But so yeah, definitely took some time off. Definitely got really ahead on a lot of stuff. So definitely echo some of your sentiments, Brady, too, where there's been some definite time wasted in there to boot. But yeah, pretty large shit show, for lack of a better term, this week. So we'll see how it pans out. But that always makes it interesting from a DraftKings perspective as well.
Yeah, so from a DraftKings perspective, it's a Wednesday, and we are missing a lot of information just to catch everybody up. Gabriel Benítez is out, and in is stepping Charles Rosa. So it's going to be Charles Rosa going against TJ Brown. Still, as last time I checked, no salary for Charles Rosa. Kakhramonov is out, in steps Kevin Croom. So that should be interesting. We have Kevin Croom versus Brian Kelleher. No salary yet for Kevin Croom. Demopoulos versus Juarez is moved to next week, UFC 270. So we lost that fight. And then Brito versus Algeo might be off. Apparently somebody in Brito's corner tested positive, but they're going to retest or something. So it might be on, it might not be, but this card is an absolute mess. And not only that, it looks like as of now, Jake Collier versus Chase Sherman is apparently now the co-main event. So yeah, this card is a mess. We're missing a lot of salaries, but this show is going to be fun. We'll talk through it here. So we'll start by shouting out the chat. We have Lou Betya. Shout out to Lou. First one in the chat. Luke, I need some good picks this week. Liana would want that from you. Shout out to Luana, Joe Jua. I missed her already. Hype MMA saying, stream time, baby. Got smooth chat in the building. Jungle of Bengals, what is up? Sean V always saying Weezy 2024. Cannot wait for Weezy to run for president. He has my vote. Preston saying if Sherman Collier goes down, cancel the whole card. I totally agree. I thought they should have canceled it after the Demopoulos fight fell off. We have Josh in the chat, and we have Kyle Kelly saying boom, boom will be the highest owned for sure now at 7,500 and definitely rightfully so. And we got Zayed in the chat as well. So I say we get into it. As always, we're going to start with our fight to target. There's not many of them, but our favorite fight to target, we'll start with you, Weezy. What is your favorite fight to target for UFC Vegas 46?
All right, I'm just going to take the easiest one here and go with Royval Bontorin. It does have the best fight, doesn't go to decision on the slate, and Royval is the definition of DraftKings gold when you look at his fighting style. It's just pure chaos. He scores 3.26 DraftKings points a minute, does Royval, and he allows 4.78. And then we look at Bontorin, and he's also, giving up and scoring a lot of points. And both of these guys have absolutely horrendous takedown defense. So, whoever shoots takedowns is going to get them. We're going to probably see a lot of reversals. And both of these guys are high volume fighters. So when you pair up all those factors with the best fight doesn't go to decision on this slate, it's an easy fight to target both sides.
Yep, I agree. I went with that one as well. Like you said, it has the best inside the distance line, and it is a Brandon Royval fight, which is typically going to be very, very fast paced. And we have seen that his fights typically are going to finish and score very well on DraftKings. We see that Brandon Royval is sitting at 8,800, and then Rogério Bontorin 7,400. I'll be playing both sides of this fight for sure. I think there's a good chance it finishes as well. Luke, how about you? What is your favorite fight to target for this week?
Yeah, I like Bush Borchev. It's one of the best ITD lines on the slate at roughly around 65% implied. I think it's a very targetable fight as both guys kind of possess skill sets that should give the other guy pretty significant issues, in my opinion. Obviously, Borchev is the better striker coming from that highly credentialed kickboxing background, but he's got an 80% finish rate in his W's, and I just kind of think Bush is a bit of a liability at space despite never being knocked out. I think Borchev is pretty clearly the best striker he's fought to date. And in general, he's been in just a lot of quick fights too. So I think Borchev is incredibly live on the feet to finish. But on the other side, the wrestling in the ground has been the main credence to Borchev dropping some minutes rounds and even his one pro loss as well. And that's one thing that Dakota Bush is pretty consistent to do, to come out and wrestle, hunt backs, hunt necks. He's got a nice rear naked choke as well. So I've also seen, Borchev has some poor defensive tendencies to give his back. And if he gives his back to Bush, I think Bush does have the grappling acumen to expose some of those tendencies potentially. So it's kind of one of those spots where whoever's really able to get off on their game, I think finishes actually at a pretty high rate. And it's another fight too that's interesting because Borchev obviously making his debut, no game log. Dakota Bush only one UFC fight, didn't look, particularly great against Austin Hubbard. So I think it might be one that is floating a little bit under the radar from a target both sides perspective.
Yeah, definitely. I like that point you made. Whoever implements their game plan probably scores very well, whether it's Bush able to get the takedown and possible submission, or if Borchev's able to keep it on the feet, he probably could very well get a knockout. So I definitely like that. And then Monk, how about you? What is your favorite fight to target for this week?
Overall, I definitely say the Royval Bontorin fight just because of the scoring aspect, but I will get a little bit different here. I'm gonna go with the Brian Kelleher Kroom fight. Just for the upside on Kelleher. He's going to be super cheap here because they usually don't change salaries. He's got one of the highest raw DraftKings points per minute scoring on the card. And did I see that right? Because when I woke up, I saw that it was Saeed against Kroom, but it is Kelleher against Kroom, right?
Believe so, right?
Okay, so yeah, all right. So I just want to make sure before I dug myself into a hole. He's got one of the second highest projected ceilings on the card at 117. When he wins, he averages 104.92 points, and that's over like 7 wins, something like that in the UFC. Even when he loses, he scores okay. But I really like the upside to Kelleher here, and Kroom. Pretty much anybody in a Kelleher fight has the opportunity to also throw tons of strikes, to also get, a submission finish or a knockout finish. So I think this fight is pretty live. I didn't get a chance to finish all of my odds, but so I'm not sure the inside the distance on this one yet, but I do like the Kelleher upside here, especially at that price.
I like it. PayPal agreeing with you. Boom, Kroom, probably a lock for the optimal, and I definitely agree with that. Bananas and Orange is saying, is Kroom good? And I will say, no, he is not. So we'll see what happens with that. We'll move on to the next thing. Before we do so, though, if you guys can please leave a like, subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. That'd be much, much appreciated as always. One small like always does go a long way. We'll bring up our fight to fade now. And I'll kind of kick this one off. My fight to fade. This is pretty easy for me. I know we have, I think, 10 fights as of now. We might lose more, but this was, very easy for me. It's going to be Katelyn Chukagan going against Jennifer Maia. It has the worst inside the distance line on the card by a mile. It's sitting at like plus 240 last time I seen. And kind of how I see the fight is, kind of like how it played out the last time, where Jennifer Maia For some reason, I don't know why, she's not going to shoot takedowns when she should. She's going to strike at range with Katelyn Chukagan, and she's going to get, outpointed 29-28 Katelyn Chukagan, and I can see Chukagan scoring like 65, 70 DraftKings points. It's just really hard to see Chukagan finding the optimal lineup. Like, if anything, I might take a shot on Maia at very low ownership just in case she wants to, for the first time in her career, fight smart and get the fight down to the mat. But as we know, we can't trust her to do that. So this is going to be an easy fade for me. I'm fading Chukagan versus Maia. Monk, how about you? What fight are you fading for this week?
I like that one a lot. Let me just add on to that real quick before I get into it. Let's see. Chookagian averages 70 DraftKings points in a win. Maia averages 72 DraftKings points when she wins. This is going to be a very bad one. I am going to pick Pickett and Holmes, mainly because I don't know anything about Holmes. He's got like 8 professional fights. Nobody that's UFC caliber. I don't think. Jamie Pickett is Jamie Pickett. He scores the least amount of raw DraftKings points per minute on the whole card, 1.92. He averages 65.71, or he got 65.71 points in his one win. His game is just not great, and there's not much to say about it. I mean, I think that one was the most second obvious choice behind your pick. I mean, Jamie Pickett, who knows? I mean, plus you just don't know what's going to happen. You're going to have both of these guys a little bit for the variance, especially since there's only 10 fights so far. But Jamie Pickett is not going to be highly owned for me. So that fight's definitely my fight to fade.
Yeah, I feel it. Yeah, we don't have salaries on that one yet, but it's not.
That's the other thing. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see what the salaries are, but yeah, I totally agree. I feel like this could be one of the most, if not the most boring fight on the card, with both guys just bringing, not a ton of volume to offer there. Weezy, how about you? What are you looking to fade for this week?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy when there's only like 8 or 9 fights on the card, and then there are still 2 that stick out like a sore thumb. Like, you have to fade these fights, and it's Pickett, Holmes, and Chookagian and Maia. Everything else you have to own. I mean, Pickett and Holmes, they're both so low volume. Try to watch that Staropoli Pickett fight without falling asleep.
Oh.
That was a nightmare. And then, Chookagian and Maia, if you want to stay awake, you can't even tape either of those fighters. They've never been in an exciting fight once in their lives. So yeah, it's a shame that on this thin of a card, we have 2 obvious fights to fade, and it's both of those fights.
Yep, there you go. So Weezy is in agreement. Luke, how about you? Something different? Or are you looking at one of those 2?
Yeah, I got to go with Chuk Maia as well. I'm not going to echo or exactly repeat every single thing you said, but I do think there's a couple important things to note why it's definitely a viable fade between both girls' runs in the UFC. Their fights hit the cards 85% of the time, which is a very, very high margin. The only losses that are associated with both Chuk being finished twice via strikes by 2 of the best strikers in the division, in Andrade and Shevchenko. I mean, there's not really any shame there, hindsight. And then Maia's one lone UFC finish is where she got that guard sub over Joanne Calderwood, who we know has been armbarred like 3 or 4 times before. So I just don't see really many finishing sequences. And to your point, Brady, as well, I kind of think we just see a rinse and repeat of the first fight. I think it's a bad style matchup for Maia, but Chuk just doesn't possess really any finishing upside either. So there's just so many other fights on this card that are better to target.
Yep, totally agree. And like Weezy said, we don't have a ton of fights on this card. I think there's 10. And if we eliminated those 2, it makes it pretty easy to make lineups. So I'm with everybody there. I'll move on to the next section here. We have the fighter to fade. We'll start with you, Weezy. What is your fighter to fade for UFC Vegas 46?
Yeah, I'm going to be fading Fat Collier this week. He hasn't recorded a takedown since Brady was in high school. He's got poor conditioning. He's overpriced here, in my opinion. Pickett, Bush, and Cater are all in his price range, and they all have similar inside the distance lines, but they can be had for $700 to $1,600 cheaper in salary. It's just hard to, like Collier's probably not knocking anybody out at this point, and he's not taking anybody down. If you want to see one of the most hilarious takedown attempts in recent history, check the Carlos Felipe versus Fat Collier fight, and you will see a takedown that was reminiscent of some that I tried as a freshman in high school when I was a very unsuccessful wrestler. So yeah, this is a bad one. It's a bad fight overall, but I mean, like, I just can't be on Fat Collier at this point. So yeah, that's the guy I'm going to be fading. And when you can't wrestle, it's really hard to score a lot of DraftKings points unless you're knocking your opponent out.
Yep, all that makes sense. We have a Big Show in the chat. What is up, Big Show? How you doing? Luke, how about you? Who is your fighter to fade for this week?
So this is actually going to be more of a contrarian fade, especially since we have such a small slate this week. You know, it's one of those weeks you really just kind of have to plant your flag and try to be as different as you can. So I'm actually going Brahimaj at 7.9K. Which is ironic, obviously, because the guy's a very dangerous fighter. He finishes the large majority of wins via submission and in the first round, you know, which is everything you want to see on DraftKings. But it's for that exact purpose why I think he's an interesting fade this week in fighting a very battle-tested guy in Court McGee, who's only been finished once in a UFC career spanning over a decade. As touched on, you know, Brahimaj is getting those early finishes via submission, but McGee is not an easy guy to wrestle who stuffs takedowns at 69% and has never been controlled for more than 3 minutes in any UFC fight he's had in over 10 years, which is very, very important. Note, as he's fought some very good wrestlers in there to boot. Coupled with McGee's last 7 fights, he's also fought nobody lower than a brown belt BJJ status. Hasn't even came close to being submitted. We've seen pretty much every Ramiz fight that gets extended. He death gasses and really has nothing past the first 5, 6, 7 minutes of a fight. So if he's going to go out there and knock out a guy like McGee, you know, he's 37, you know, it's definitely possible, but that'll be his first career knockout. Is he going to go out there and sub McGee? Well, guys like Sean Brady couldn't submit Court McGee. So, you know, I think he's going to have to go out there and do something very impressive that we just have not seen happen to Court very often, or we're going to have to see at least 1 or 2 very new things from Ramiz to justify 7.9. I just think it's that early finishing upset that he has historically that's going to make a lot of people flock to him. But I'm going to be incredibly underweight to Brahimaj this week.
Yeah, I like it. You have to plant your flag. Like you mentioned, I thought that Brahimaj would be one of the higher owned dogs of the slate before. You know, we're now getting TJ Brown against Charles Rosa when he's 7,100, and we're now getting Kelleher against Kroom at 7,500. So I still think he'll be up there in ownership. So I still think, you know, very contrarian, but I think his ownership is definitely going to lower a little bit. For me, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Katelyn Chukagan, 8,900. I don't think she has a finish in the UFC, if I'm not mistaken. Like I said, I just see the fight playing out kind of how it did last time. She picks apart Maia. She's not going to go for takedowns, and she's going to score like 70 points. And I just think there's so many better plays. I'd rather play like 7,100 TJ Brown and save like 2,000 salary just about, or get a Kelleher instead. So Katelyn Chukagan for me, easy fade. Monk, how about you? Who are you fading this week?
Yep, same thing. Katelyn Chukagian. She's got an average salary of $8,200, so she's $700 more than she usually is priced at, and she's only got a value of 6.61, the 11th highest value on the card. For 8,900, that math just does not work for me. Like you said, she averages 70 points in a win. Her opponent, you know, averages 72, so we're not expecting to see like, you know, a super exciting fight. The only thing that makes me wonder about picking this is at her weight class. The women's flyweight weight class made the optimal lineup 57.5% of the time last year when they, you know, had the chance to. And the number 10 fight, actually, this is moved now, so never mind. It's not the number 10 fight anymore. So yeah, even better to fade Katelyn Chukagian. I just think she's going to give you a very small value for an extremely high price, and that doesn't make sense in no matter what you're talking about. So definitely Chukagian for me as well.
There we go. A Banana saying he is going to fade Court McGee. Josh saying he's going to fade Chase Sherman. We'll move on to the next thing. We have our favorite dog. I'll let you kick this one off. Luke, what do you like for favorite dog?
Yeah, I'm going all the way to the bottom. I'm going Cater at 6.9K. You know, his implied odds, you know, to win the fight as a whole aren't great, around 33%. But in relation to him being the lowest price fighter with a fight that has 25-minute potential just off the top, that makes him very interesting. We know Chikadze is a very talented kickboxer with a lot of power. Coupled with Cater, you know, not being the greatest guy defensively, but he's never been finished in 27 pro fights and survived a strike record put on him by Max Holloway, who landed over 400 plus. So if that's not a testament to the guy's toughness, I don't really know what is. But Cater's a pretty high output boxer who's consistent to push a pace. We've seen Giga slow in many of the extended affairs he's been in. He also clearly dropped the second round to Barbosa. Barbosa, I think, was over -200 on the live line going into the third round, which needs to be noted. I think it's also important to note that the over 2.5 is currently at about 60% or so. So, I mean, at least if in terms of you agree with that this fight should go later. And in my opinion, as in many others' opinion, you know, the later this fight goes, the more it favors Cater because he's obviously conscious and he's not getting knocked out. So, I don't think he necessarily needs a finish, necessarily. He's going to land a ton of strikes. I think even in a loss, I think he could do reasonably well. Obviously not going to make the optimal, but in terms of cash, I think it's interesting too. But in a win, on a very volatile type of slate and a guy who does have upside in this fight with 25 minutes to work with, I just don't think you can concede the potential of Kattar getting KO'd for his upside in relation to the price tag.
Yep, all good points. I mean, if I saw Giga Chikadze 9,300, Calvin Kattar 6,900 a year ago, I would shit myself, right? So that's kind of nuts. For me, I'm going to go with Brian Kelleher. He is sitting at 7,500. Like I said, he's going to be fighting Kevin Kroom, and I think I think he shaves Kevin Kroom's ass pretty early, probably in the first round even. I just don't think Kevin Kroom is UFC caliber, and he probably gets caught in a guillotine here. So give me Brian Kelleher, 7,500. I'm assuming he's going to be a big favorite. No odds are out yet, but you got to think he's going to be a really big favorite, and I think he does finish the fight. So Brian Kelleher, probably one of my favorite plays in general, and definitely my favorite dog there at 7,500. Weezy, how about you? Who's your favorite dog for this week?
I'm not going to give you guys either of the two kind of like free squares this week, which are going to be Kelleher and TJ Brown, because they're priced at 71 and 7,500, and they're both going to be huge favorites. But if I had to pick one other low-priced guy, I guess it would be Chase Sherman. Sherman's finished 14 of his 15 pro wins inside the distance by knockout, and Fat Collier has been finished in 4 of his 6 pro losses, and 3 of those 4 were by knockout. So there's definitely a path for Sherman to knock out Collier. So I think Chase is a nice high upside underdog with tons of finishing equity. So he provides a little bit of value this week. I also picked Chase as Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. The main reason was because he's fighting Fat Collier. So yeah, I'm going with Chase Sherman as my favorite dog.
There you go. And the thing about these dogs, like a Sherman, these other dogs, right? All the ownership is going to gravitate towards Kelleher. All the ownership is going to gravitate towards Brown. So we're going to get these other dogs at much, much lower ownership. And a Sherman, is something interesting because, like you said, he does have a really good finish rate. So yeah, don't hate that. Monk, how about you? Who are you liking as your favorite dog?
Well, I had TJ Brown before that fight got switched around, so I'll pivot off of that. Where was it? I also liked. I'm going to go with Bill Algeo, actually. He scores very well, 3.3 raw DraftKings points per minute. He only scores 85 per win, but his floor is almost 40 points. We don't know much about Brito. If you're a UFC stat guy, if you're not, I'm watching tape on him, but if you're not watching tape on him, you don't know, anything about him. So to pay 8,600 isn't terrible, but I definitely throw in some Algeo there. Nobody's really talking about him. He is only 1-2 in the UFC. He gets a lot of points scored against him. But I kind of like his upside here. Like I said, he scores 3.31 per minute. And we don't know much about Brito. So I'm going to pick Bill Algeo here for my favorite dog.
Yeah, I think that fight in general is going to be a really, really good one to target. Move on to the next section. We have our favorite GPP play. We're talking GPP. We're talking some high upside, high ceiling. We'll start with you, Weezy. What are you liking for a GPP play here?
For me, it's Brandon Royval, guys. It's the best fight doesn't go to decision line on the slate is the Bontorin Royval fight. And Bontorin has been known to have difficult weight cuts as well. This is another fight that could absolutely be canceled because Bontorin, his last fight, he took at 135 and he couldn't even make 136. He weighed in at 137 against Danger Schnell. So, you put that best fight doesn't go to decision. You also talk about Bontorin being a gasser who has tough weight cuts. Royval brings constant chaos. He's not the kind of guy you can fight if you have conditioning issues because Royval goes 100 miles an hour from the word go. So, and he's always looking to finish fights inside the distance. Brandon also has the best inside distance line on the slate at plus 108, and he has the best first round prop on the slate at plus 266. So it's just a layup for a GPP lineup. I think he's like the 4th highest priced fighter. So to get all those metrics in first place, best fight doesn't go to decision, best first round prop, best inside the distance prop. It's a layup for a GPP.
Yeah, I really like that call. For me, I'm actually new with Joanderson Brito at 8,600. The reason being is I'm not completely sold on this guy and his cardio. In some fights, his cardio actually looks good. but in some fights it does look questionable, and Algeo is going to push a pace, and he's going to have a very good get-up game. But with that get-up game, I do think there's going to be opportunities for Brito to get a ton of takedowns. I mean, in Ramos's fight against Algeo, Ramos landed like 8 takedowns the last fight, and I feel like Brito could do the same thing, but again, I am kind of worried if this fight does get extended, what Brito does look like. I think all the finishing upside is mostly on a Brito finish as well. But at the very worst, Brito lands a few takedowns here or there, gets some control time, and maybe that third round sketchy. But I think if Brito does pull off the win, I think there's a lot of takedown upside. So I'm going for that takedown upside in Brito. Luke, how about you? What are you looking at for a GPP play?
Yeah, I'm actually going to echo your sentiments with Brito at 8.6. His inside the distance line isn't like great, but to your point, I think even in a decision win, just based on the style dynamic, he can score really well. I can see a lot of mat return, up, down takedowns if he's able to get some top time. I see, control time there, some, non-significant strikes. He's going to throw a lot of strikes on the feet. We know Algeo pretty much blocks punches with his face, so he's going to be there to be hit. I just think there's so many different ways that Brito can score in this fight. Like I said, I just don't necessarily think he needs a finish to 10x here on obviously a very volatile slate. There's definitely some volatility on this fight too. As you touched on, we still don't 100% know what to make of Brito at this point, but I do think he has a game that has given Algeo some problems historically, and he can score very well. So I like him in GPPs.
Yeah, and like I said last section there, I think it's just a good fight to target in general, just with the style of both guys. Monk, how about you? What is your favorite GPP play?
I was going to go with Kelleher, but he's just too cheap, man. It's not doesn't really qualify. So I'm going to echo what Weezy said. Brandon Royval, that was who I was going to pick originally. I mean, like he said, this guy's the definition of a GPP play right here. 8,800, so he's coming in way over his average salary, but you're getting good value from that. You're getting, 3.26 raw DraftKings points per minute. He has proven that he puts up lots of points in the past. Half of his wins, have been over 100 points. I got him at a very high ceiling here. And I really like the matchup against Bontorin. It's going to be an exciting fight. I got him projected at well over 100 points, 107 points, huge value. I mean, this is maybe the biggest inside the distance on the card. I don't know. I only have my odds up here, but it's definitely one of the bigger ones. So I got to go with what Weezy said here and pick Royval, best GPP play.
I like it. Before we move on, if you all in the chat can smash the like button, we're about to move on to our favorite cash play. I'll kind of kick this one off here. I'm going to go with Giga Chikadze at 9,300. And I mean, yes, it's very expensive, but I really like the matchup for him. I do have some concerns if this fight does get extended into the 4th and 5th round, but he has solid volume. And on top of that, like the price may scare some people away, but with Kelleher opening up, with Brown opening up, it just makes it so easy to go up and get Chikadze. And I really do like him to win this matchup. I don't necessarily think he finishes Kattar, but maybe he can. But I think at the very least, he's going to put up volume. He's a very tough guy, never been knocked out. I do think this goes to decision, and I do think he's going to rack up some volume. So I don't hate Giga at 9,300. That's going to be my cash play of the week. Weezy, how about you? Who's your favorite cash play?
I'm right there with you, man. I'm going with Giga as well. Not that I don't think Calvin is live. He's certainly live. All he needs to do is land one big right hand and swarm, and he can easily finish the fight. But Giga's really good defensively. He's constantly moving, constantly switching stances. I love the kickboxer versus boxer matchup, and Giga is such a master at managing range that I think he's going to be kicking the hell out of Kattar's body and legs. And even if this fight does get extended, I don't think Kattar's going to have much left in the tank in the 4th and the 5th here due to the work that the body and leg work that Giga does so effectively. So, yeah, I'm just going with Giga. 5-round fight. He's the biggest favorite on the card. That's not one of the guys that got a late replacement. So I think it's a really good, safe play. And there's so many places to save money. You don't have to worry about paying up for 9,300 for Giga this week.
Yeah, right there with you. Monk, how about you? What is your favorite cash play for this week?
I'm going to go with Court McGee. He's got one of the highest floors on my card here. He averages over 90 points when he wins. I mean, he's got a very good DraftKings points per minute work rate going on. Luke said, if Ramiz wins, it's, his win condition is submission. if Court gets submitted, it'll be the first time in 31 pro fights that he's ever been submitted. So, I mean, that's never happened before. So I think that this goes the distance. And if that's the case, it could be a pretty close fight, but I'm still going to pick Court McGee as a safe cash play, because even if he loses, I mean, he's going to score 40-ish points. Let's see. He puts up, it's going to be about 40-ish points. So, I mean, for cash, that's really good. You're just trying to pick the guys with the highest floor. So I'm going to go with Court McGee here.
I like that. Wow, McGee averages over 90 points in a win.
Yeah, I got him at 91.
Wow, that's very interesting. I like that. And then Luke, who is your favorite cash play this week?
Yeah, despite me saying it was, my fight to fade, but I am actually going Chookagian at 8.8, just because it's a slate overall that just has so much volatility, even at the upper range, in my opinion. I just don't think there's a ton of people with really high floors, where I think Chookagian has probably the highest floor on the entire card, just given the low inside the distance line. And I think I have a pretty good read on the fight. So, is she going to come out here and score 100 points for you? No, but it's like one of those slates in cash where it's like you really need your wins on these types of slates. And I feel probably the best about, any other fight on the card to say I feel good about Chookagian winning this fight, and she'll put up an okay score too. So I like Chook and cash.
Lee saying Brady changed his tune on Giga. Time to fade. Yeah, if you guys know me, you guys know I'm the biggest Giga hater out there. But yeah, my tune changed after that Morales fight, actually. But move on. We have our favorite value play. We'll start with you, Monk. What are you liking for some value this week?
Well, I was going to go with Chase Sherman, but good God. Since Kelleher got a new opponent, and he's only at what was he at?
I think 75.
75. That's what I thought. I'm going to go with Kelleher, man. He puts up a ton of points. He's got a huge upside. I already said average DraftKings points per win is, 104, almost 105. I don't expect this to go the distance. Kelleher, high volume guy, one of the highest ceilings on the card for me. Easy pick for me. Brian Kelleher at 7,500. I'll probably have him in 70% a lot, something crazy high like that.
No, I'm definitely right there with you. I'm going to go with TJ Brown at 7,100. He is around, last time I checked, like minus 275, which I don't really agree with, but I do think he has all the tools to win this fight and win it pretty dominantly outside of him, pulling a stunt like he did in the Griffin fight or the Chavez fight. But, we know how to beat Rosa at this point, and his teammate Bryce Mitchell, kind of laid out the game plan, take down Rosa, and he's just going to lay on his back for 15 minutes. I think Brown can implement that same game plan. He is now a black belt in BJJ. He's had a full camp, unlike Rosa coming in on a couple of days' notice. Give me some TJ Brown at 7,100. If he does win, I think he's going to put up a pretty big score there. Luke, how about you? What are you liking for some value this week?
Yeah, it's got to be Brown at 7.1 and Kelleher at 7.5. But then again, everybody and their mom is going to be on it. But it's just kind of one of those ones that you just kind of got to have it and be, keep up with the Joneses on everyone else. What I will say, though, at least in relation to both of them, I do like Kelleher much more. The problem with Brown is there's just some general flakiness, with his game. His IQ isn't great. He's hittable. He gets hurt a lot. He's been submitted multiple times. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if Rosa guard subbed him or something, to be completely honest. So I wouldn't necessarily go 100% TJ Brown in your lineups by any means, but given obviously the odds-based value, I mean, you have to have a good number of shares of both guys, because they should win their fights at moderate clips.
Yep, right there with you. Weezy, how about you? What are you looking for some value on this card?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious value is TJ Brown and Brian Kelleher, with the low prices being big favorites. Outside of that, I'm going to actually go with Joanderson Brito, echoing some of the things that you guys said earlier when you said that you liked him for other categories. He's got a nice all-around MMA game. He's got power. He's got wrestling. He's got grappling. And Algeo is in high-paced fights and has poor striking defense. So not only do I think this is a great fight to target as a whole, but I think Brito is a nice high upside favorite in this spot due to the fact that Algeo allows 4.32 DraftKings points per minute, and Brito scored 4.86 DraftKings points per minute in his DWCS fight. So even if he only scored, even in a loss, if he goes 3 rounds and scores 4 DraftKings points a minute, that's 60 points, and he averages, Algeo allows more than 4 DraftKings points a minute. And Brito scored almost 5 DraftKings points a minute in his DWCS fight. So this is definitely, for Algeo and Brito, I think there's value on both of these guys. It's a good fight to target as a whole, but I'm going to say Joanderson, Brito. If you are top heavy and you need another option, that's not quite 9,000 at 8,600, I think it's pretty good.
Sounds good to me. Lastly, we'll do our dart throw, then talk about our lineups and answer any questions you guys have in the chat. But we have a dart throw. We'll start with you, Monk. Who are you liking for a dart throw this week? Looking for somebody low owned here.
Well, that was going to be TJ Brown. I'm going to go with Calvin Kattar. I mean, I think Giga is going to be not way, but over owned for sure, just because of the name. And, we have no fights on this card. So I think Kattar might be a bit under owned. If this goes the distance, which I kind of expect it to, like you said, the winner's going to score an incredible amount of points. I mean, 5-round fight, 2 strikers. I mean, nobody here is Max Holloway. Let me be clear about that. But he put up a gazillion points in a 5-round fight against Kattar. I don't think Giga's going to do that kind of damage on Kattar. But no matter what, I mean, if Kattar gets the nod here, he's going to probably start to outland Giga in the later rounds. And he could end up putting a bunch of points. So for 6,900, I definitely like Calvin Kattar for a dart throw here.
Sounds good to me. For me, I'm going to kind of throw a weird one out there, and there's no salary on it as well, but my dart throw is going to be one Charles Rosa. I know I just talked about TJ Brown last segment, but man, I also talked about how TJ Brown he's dropped the ball, not once but twice in that Jordan Griffin fight. This guy looked phenomenal. He took down Jordan Griffin like 7 times, and he got guillotined against him in there. So that's the subs, very live for Rosa. And on top of that, he went out there against Danny Chavez, and I expected him to take down Chavez, but he did not attempt any takedown. I think it started attempting them after like the round and a half, 2 rounds in, and then he finally started to try to attempt them, and he couldn't get them. And it was actually Chavez that took him down 4 times. So he's just shown some poor fight IQ, and Rosa is a black belt in BJJ. It is very, very hard to sub Rosa and get him out of there as well. So Rosa's going to be there all 3 rounds for the most part. And, it would not shock me if there was some type of submission from Rosa's back. So Rosa, my dart throw, no salary, but I'm assuming he's going to be like really, really cheap. Weezy, how about you? What's your dart throw for this week?
I think the ultimate dart throw would be the hard-hitting hillbilly Kevin Kroom, who might be less than 1% owned, but I'm not going to say that because I really think Kelleher is going to clean that dude. So I'm going to say Bontorin, actually. Yep. I'm actually really high on Royval. I think Royval is a fantastic DraftKings play this week due to the way that he fights, but also due to the way that Royval fights, it makes Bontorin have value. Royval is about as sloppy as it gets. The guy throws everything with power. He's totally submission over position when he grapples. He gives up his neck all the time, and he's very hittable on the feet. And one of the things that I've noticed, the way that he lost both the Pantoja and the Moreno fights was when he's standing and he's striking, he gets out his head out over his toes so often, and he'll miss so spectacularly with a long right or left hand that his opponent will just kind of move to the side and then take his back standing and then get it to the ground. That's exactly how Pantoja beat him. It's exactly how Moreno beat him. And I saw Casey Kenny do it to him like 2 times in a 5-round fight on the regional scene when they were fighting for the LFA belt. So, as explosive, as powerful as Royval is, he's equally as defensively. He has those defensive lapses. He's hittable. He's able to be knocked down. Whoever wins this fight is probably going to score a ton of points. So I think Bontorin is actually a really good dart throw this week.
Yeah, for sure. I like that one as well. I think that fight as a whole, like we talked about, should be one to target, and Bontorin is definitely a good option. I think he'll be very low owned. And then Luke, right? Luke, who's your favorite dart throw for this week?
Yeah, I'm actually going to echo Weezy's sentiments with Bontorin at 7.4. He's got offensive wrestling upside in this matchup. He's very physically strong at the weight class. We know Royval is kind of one of your, kitchen sink jiu-jitsu guys. He's going to throw everything on the feet because he's not concerned about getting taken down. In fact, he often doesn't even try to stuff a lot of takedowns. He'll accept takedowns. He'll pull guard. He'll play from his back. And if he does that with Bontorin, I think Bontorin has multiple takedown upside, control time upside, non-significant strike upside. It really comes down to, can Bontorin's gas hold for 15 minutes and the type of pace and pressure that a guy and Royval brings on both the feet and on the ground, because the guy just does not stop moving, to be honest. And we have seen Bontorin get tired, but Bontorin hits really hard too, man, for the smaller weight class. The dude packs a punch, as we know. Royval's a guy who's not really known for striking defense. He fights with his hands down. So I do think there's some wrestling merit to Bontorin here, and I think there's potential knockout potential for Bontorin at 7.4 as well. So I definitely think he is worth some shares this week.
No, it makes sense. Both guys are finishers. Both guys can finish. I think someone's probably getting finished in that fight, so you definitely want to have some exposure. All right, everybody in the chat, now's the time. If you guys want to type in any questions, we'll go through the panel and answer all of them here while we go through our lineup. So just type those questions in now. All right, so lineups. I'll kick this one off. I'm going to go with Giga Chikadze. I'm going to go with Brito as of now. Hopefully the fight's going to stay on. Give me Brandon Royval. Give me Chase Sherman. Give me Brian Kelleher, and then give me TJ Brown. I'm actually leaving a lot of salary on the table right as of now. Weezy, do you have a lineup ready for this week?
That's the lineup I came up with, man.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, because I just I could do is take Brito out and put in Borshev, because I think there's room room there. But yeah, that's the exact lineup that I had, because I didn't realize that Kelleher was fighting Kroom. So I had something a little bit different, but I have to get Kelleher in there. So yeah, it's Chikadze, Royval, and then I'll go. No, I'm gonna. Yeah, we'll do Borshev, then Sherman, Kelleher, and Brown.
All right, sounds good. Luke, do you have a lineup for this week?
Yeah, I'm going Brown, Kelleher, Chuk, Brito, Borshev, Royval.
And Monk, how about you?
I'm going to go with Chikadze, Royval, Kelleher, McGee, Algeo, and Brown.
All right, so those are the lineups. Now we'll go through our quick picks and answer any questions. I see no questions as of now. Let's get those questions. Come on, PayPal. I'm sure you have some questions that you'd like to get answered there. But we'll go through our quick picks here. We'll start with you, Weezy. Do you have your quick picks for the card? I know the card's gotten all crazy, but I think there's 10 fights right now.
Yeah, I'll give you what I know I've got. So I'm picking Giga. I'm picking Chookagian. I'm picking Royval. Sherman over Fat Collier by knockout. That's Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. It's a rough week when you're picking Chase Sherman for your ass shaving, man. I'm going with Algeo. I'm going with Holmes. No, I'm sorry. I'm going with Pickett. McGee, TJ Brown, Borshev, Kelleher. Yeah, and that's it, I think.
All right. For me, I'll go with Giga. Give me Chase Sherman. Give me Brandon Royval, Chookagian. Give me Borshev, Brito, Pickett, McGee, TJ Brown, and Kelleher. I think that's it. Luke, how about you?
I'm going to go Calvin Kattar, Chuk, Royval, Collier, Brito, Holmes, McGee, Brown, Borshev, and Kelleher.
And how about you, Monk?
I'm going to go with Giga, Chookagian, Royval, Collier, Fat Collier, Algeo, Holmes, Brahimaj, Brown, Borshev, and Kelleher.
All right, let's answer some questions. I saw some earlier in the chat. I'm going to scroll up and see if I can find them. But Paul's saying, is the Kelleher fight canceled? It is not canceled, but he does have a new opponent. He's now going to be fighting Kevin Kroom. What's his nickname, Weezy? Kevin Kroom?
The hard-hitting hillbilly. So you got to watch out for this kid, man. He hits hard, and he's a hillbilly. It's all in the nickname.
That is awesome. PayPal saying, give me some poop. What does poop stand for again?
That's the plus only odds parlay. So it's a parlay with only plus money in it.
All right. Do either of you three have a poop parlay?
I'll give you a 2-leg poop parlay.
Okay.
How about Chase Sherman by KO at plus 310 and Court McGee by decision at plus 200? Somebody might have to put that into a parlay calculator, but that'll probably be a decent one.
All right, Luke, do you have any poop you want to talk about?
Let's go with Borshev by KO and McGee by decision.
Borshev KO, McGee by decision. Monk, you have any poop?
Sure. Let's throw in Maia straight up. Why not? Just for fun. And I'm on best fight odds, and it's a fucking war zone. And we'll go Algeo as well for straight up. So 2 money lines there.
Nice.
Just off the top of my head.
For me, I forget what you say. I'm not trying to say the same thing as you. For me, plus money, give me Chase Sherman, KO, McGee decision. Did you say that, Weezy? McGee decision?
That's the 2-legger I'm going with. I want to see what that's at.
I want to steal yours. Give me Dakota Bush by sub and Chase Sherman round 1. Let's see what we have. That should
fat.
That should be very
juicy. Gotta be.
Mbe, no one picking Maia. Seems like she can take the Andrade approach and try to be more physical. Plus, Maia screaming for a rematch with Val seems more motivated. Anybody giving Maia a chance at all?
Yeah, sure. I think she's got a chance. I think the first fight was fairly close. You know, Chookagian's a point fighter, so when you're a point fighter, you're always leaving it in the hands of the judges, and that's always dangerous, especially in the UFC. So, yeah, of course she's live. That fight, wasn't that, one-sided the first time. And Maia, if she tries to wrestle more, she could win enough minutes to potentially make it really close.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing. If Maia decides to fight smart, it could be very close. Sean saying Collier finish anyone though? I didn't see it last fight. No potential. I know Luke, you are high on Collier this week. Do you think he can finish Sherman?
I mean, Sherman's tough. I don't think it's very high percentage. I'm more so on the side of him just kind of being the better striker over the course of 15 minutes than Sherman. So yeah, I'm more so on the side of decision. But at the end of the day, it's a sloppy heavyweight fight with 2 guys who have poor defense. So, that always leads to general variance. So I don't think it's out of the question, but it's definitely not uber high percentage.
If Collier comes out dressed like a rotisserie chicken, he's going to get finished. Or if Sherman comes out dressed like he's going to get finished for sure.
That's insane. All right. Sean saying Weezy 2024. I agree. Ryan loves Collier. I think Collier is going to be the minute winner in this fight. I think if it does go to decision, it does favor him. Her screaming helps her get decision. That's for Chookagian. But yeah, I think that is about it, guys. We went through this card. This is a crazy card to come back from. I mean, it was just a couple weeks ago. I think there was like 14 or 15 fights on this card. We're now down to 10, and it's only Wednesday, so we'll see what happens there. So I guess lastly, we'll kick it around. Let everybody know where they can find you. Weezy, I know you've been very busy this week putting in some extra work. Where can they find you? What do you have going on either tonight and then the rest of the week?
Yeah, man, you can find me on my YouTube channel, Uncle Weezy. I've done 2 balls deep breakdowns of fights, and I did a full card breakdown last night called Just the Tip. You can check all that stuff out on my channel. Brady and I did a main event breakdown on his channel. We did Stat Diggers on Sunday night on Pub Sports Radio. We're here with the same crew every Wednesday now for the Draftkings show. And tonight I'll be doing a balls deep breakdown of the Bontorin Royval fight on my channel, but I just don't know when that's going to be yet because I have a fantasy football playoff draft with my friends starting in just over an hour. So when I'm back from that, it's right back to work. One more balls deep breakdown tonight. I'm about 18 subscribers away from 1,000 on my channel. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. And I appreciate all you guys hanging out on a Wednesday night with us here on Pub Sports talking DFS.
For sure. Go help Weezy get 1,000 subs, only 18 away. So hopefully get that by when the card starts. That'd be awesome. And then we have Luke as well. Luke, I know you and the guys are going live at 10 for the Club and Sub podcast, right? And then what else do you have going on throughout the week?
Yep. Just follow me on Twitter, guys. SWR_betting. Like to have some fun on there. Post my fun gifts and all that stupid shit too. And then patreon.com/SWRbetting. If you're looking for my general bets, other additional content, all that stuff, you can check me out on Patreon as well.
For sure. Go check out some Luke. MB saying maybe Maia will start screaming. Wouldn't that be something if Maia started screaming? It was like a tennis match. Yeah. The judges wouldn't know who to pick. It would be crazy.
I was just thinking about this the other day, Brady, because you know how obviously she's from Brazil, and then we have all the chook tennis noises. So it's going to be the chook yelling, and then it's just going to be the corner of Maia. Isso! Porra! Porra! Ah! Porra! It's
Oh, yeah, and we're in the apex, right? So we're gonna hear all
Oh,
of it.
yeah.
We're gonna get
Terrible.
15 minutes of a freaking orangutan fucking museum at the viewer. It's terrible, dude.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Oh, it's great.
But we have Monk as well. Monk, you made your debut. I thought you did phenomenal. Excited to have you on for the year on this show. I feel it's gonna be a very good year, very good show. Where can they find you, and then what do you have going on throughout the week? I know you're posting a ton of content daily on your Twitter, and I need to do some work on YouTube as well.
Yes, sir. Thanks again, you guys, for asking me to be part of this. It's super fun, and I'm looking forward to the entire season or the entire year here. You can catch me actually on teamriserfall.com if you play any kind of DraftKings, any sport at all. Go check out the website. You can save money with code MONK, but you can also just follow me on Twitter at MonkMaddox. Also follow me on YouTube, same name, at MonkMaddox. I put out a game theory video every Tuesday for all the fighters we actually have salaries for. I go into all of the DraftKings numbers, more than you could even imagine that exists. So if you need some stat study for your DraftKings, come on over and check that out.
Sounds good. Go check it out, guys. Monk always putting out a bunch of great stuff. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers, on YouTube, DFS by the numbers as well. I'll be going live Friday after the weigh-ins at 7 o'clock, and then live Saturday once more with the guys, Narco Cop, Eric Betts Fights, and Uncle Weezy 1 hour prior to when the prelims start. That's about it. That was the show. If you guys can please leave a like on your way out, subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. Tune in every Wednesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. We'll be right back here. Next week's a very good card. If it does not fall apart, UFC 270. So we'll see you guys back then. Best of luck. Let's make some money. And